it comes to it, when I talk about gamification, people have no idea what I'm talking about. So I think really the first place to start is what gamification is not. So I should say large first-year business information systems, when I first started it was like 800 in one semester. These days it's about 300 to 400, broken up into a couple of semesters. But gamification has only run for 1 year. So we're talking about last year, 2012. So starting with the disclaimers, gamification is not about computers or computing. A lot of people go, well, I don't use a computer lab, so I can't do that. Well, serious games, which is one of the threads that led into gamification, do work with computers and computing and actually doing computer games to learn. But this isn't serious games. Now, so you can entirely gamify a course without any PCs at all, except, of course, the one you use to do the course profile, enter student grades, and blah, blah, blah. So the next disclaimer, it does not mean that you have to turn your course or your class into a game. You can, and if you do, choose your audience carefully, your class. Contrary to common belief, not all of our students play games. And they very happily tell you so if you try to make them. So gamification does not mean that you have to use experience points or XP, whatever you want to call them, instead of marks. You can, and it's very useful, but if you do it, boy, you have to map it and explain it really carefully, multitudinous times, no matter how often you give it to them. So, next disclaimer, it does not mean that you have to use gaming lexicon or change your vocabulary. You can, but again, if you do, be selective. Don't try to wipe them out with the entire gaming vocabulary ever found online. Choose which words are appropriate, choose wisely, map them to your learning outcomes and so forth, and again, explain them very carefully. Don't drown them in it. It also means you don't have to change your entire course in one swell group. You can, and I sincerely recommend that if you're going to do that, take an entire semester's study leave, set it up, work it out, and trial it at least twice before a single student comes near it. Put it out to colleagues, get them to read it and proof it like you do. If you're putting in a serious grant application or aiming for an A-star journal, you know, you get all this feedback from colleagues. Seriously, you want to trial this on people way before you get a student near it. So the course I gamified was Information Systems. I called it Systeme. I gave it its own map and logo. I made a huge mistake. I made a couple of big mistakes, actually. But the first was I concentrated. It's not quite true that I started with how to, but in a sense I did. I mean, I did know. Pedagogy is my background. I can't help it. Why do I do this? I knew why I wanted to do it, but I didn't really take that deep enough. I was gamifying because I've been doing TBL, flipped classroom, and so forth for a long time. The students resented a lot of what I did. Yes, I accomplished my results. I got them from something like over a 60% fail rate to under a 20% fail rate, but my CELTs went way down and the students complained a lot. So I knew I was gamifying to try and make my TBL more enjoyable, which wasn't necessarily the best reason. I should have started more with why to, when to, what to, and most particularly, what happened? Most particularly, who to. Because there really is this assumption. I mean, nearly all of the youth and young adults I associate with, which I forgot to really correlate through, I associate and know them because they're my children's friends, they all game. I thought, most of them gamed. Everyone they knew gamed. Well, guess what? I started with a pre-semester survey. Most of the students did not game, were not interested in gaming. Seriously. Now, those of you from computer science, okay, maybe when you survey your students, they'll go, of course we game. But I mean, I even including Farmville. I thought, got to get them on that one. No. So you can't assume that all of our students are game players. We already know, there's a lot of research coming back, that students don't like student-centred learning, and you actually have to educate them to like, or at least appreciate or value, and stop resenting and resisting student-centred learning. But when it came to gaming, I had taken them way beyond just student-centered learning. I wasn't taking them seriously. I wasn't taking the work seriously. They came to seriously learn. They didn't actually, this is so contradictory. My students have been telling me for years, I'm not here to learn, I'm here to qualify. I mean, I've had that since 1999, I think was the first time I had a student say, I'm not here to learn. But the thing is, they arrive with these preconceptions, mainly garnered from American college movies, I think. But, you know, it's about lectures, it's about tutorials, it's about some professor standing up the front and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so when I actually screwed up royally by giving them a game concept and not treating it as if I thought their learning was seriously. So you have to really watch out for these things and know them in advance. So, why are you not moving? Oh, I'm clicking the wrong button, that's why. Sorry. So, in one way, this is a really bad example to introduce you to gamification because I had flipped classroom, TBL, theory and lab theory praxis. I designed a brand new computer lab that the faculty built with me, for me, sort of thing. I've been doing blended learning since 1999, so all of those things were already embedded in it, and I imposed gamification on top of all of those. So any results I report are muddied. So many of the elements integrated and integral to STEAM are not specific in any way to gamification. So what is gamification? Basically, it is about applying game design principles into non-game activities. Now, the world caught onto this a while ago with flybys and loyalty cards and your coffee cards. That's all gamification, basic how to motivate people stuff. In a school-based thing, now that gamification is starting to become one of those trendy education words, you could make that and say application of game design principles to other disciplines than video game design courses in computing science, which is where a lot of this actually originated pedagogically. So, the fundamental concepts, and this is really where it's about, the first real biggie is that failure, in a video game, failure is good. You fail. I mean, so you have your little avatar, and he's walking along, and he comes to a great chasm, and he goes, ooh, and you back him up, and you run him up, and you jump, and you fall into the chasm, and you lost a life, and you lost however many points you've got so far. And, so your avatar starts back again, brand new life, boom, boom, walks along, comes to the chasm, you know not to jump this time. So you climb down, get eaten by the dragon, another life lost. So there's your little avatar back at the start again, and he starts again, you go, I'll build a bridge. And you get across, and you level up, and you get all these extra skills, and you get all these XP, and you have learned a lesson. Failure is good. It is part of the pathway to success. Our education system does not mirror this in any way. Failure is, for the most part, not good in the classroom or in exams or in assessments. Particularly early success is good. A game starts very easy so that they can get a lot of quick wins fast. They know success works pretty quickly. Progress encourages progress. And so if they get a lot of quick wins, they try something, and like they usually get a few lives to lose before they totally lose. And if they do lose lives, they lose, it's very, very easy to lose lives while it's still too early or while there's still easy recovery systems, so that it's not too late to just go back and start again. And so that the challenges get harder and the lost lives cost more, as in you have to go back so many levels, the further you are already committed into the game, where you're already addicted and engaged. But early on, while the designers are trying to get you buying into the game, lots of easy successes, easy wins, and when you do fail, the cost isn't too high and it's pretty easy to go back to the start and start again. So progress encourages progress. Early successes engender a willingness to engage more. So amazement, basic game principle, it's more fun to win than to lose. It's more fun to gain than to lose. And our grading system is in exact reversal to this. When you start a game, you're building up and you're leveling up, and you work hard and you get this grade and you get up these extra skills and you get an extra life and you get extra health and you're at a new level. And it means that if you die again, you only come back to this level, not back to zero, and so forth. In school, student starts, they're beginning, they start a course with, of course they're going to get an HD, and their first assessment comes back, okay, well, if I slave my guts out, I might get a credit. And then they do the next assessment. That credit's looking shaky. They do the next assessment. God, I might fail this. I'll be lucky if I scrape a pass. It's always a process of loss. From day one, they start with a potential 100, and everything they do, they're further away from 100. In games, you start and you're always building up, and that 100 is always possible. Motivating. So, in the video game world, people play in teams, people mentor, people support one another. They will actually self-sacrificially, some of them will even die, let their avatar die, to encourage and mentor a newbie. The term newbie is an actual official term, and people actually look after and nurture and foster newbies, and they have different levels and they participate and so forth. So teamwork is critical, and you start a new game, you look for people, total strangers. World of Warcraft, you can walk into World of Warcraft and all these total strangers who might be in any country in the world at any hour of the day or night will adopt you and foster you through until you are on your way. They'll warn you about the monsters, they'll tell you where to find the special treasures and so forth. You tell our students that they're about to do teamwork and hear the groans. It's such a different world. So there are ways of motivating teamwork and making teamwork lead to esprit de corps and camaraderie and support and mentoring and that sense of investment in each other and the payoff of see that newbie? I got him through. So, 1 minute. Okay, I missed that. Okay, so random elements too. This one's hard to put in with university policies, but this is one of the major components behind gambling. Gambling works because every time you pull that lever, you don't win. But there's always but you know that sometimes you can pull that lever and you will win. So building into a course the elements that, yeah, you do something extra and you might actually get 10 extra points. You do something extra, you might not get nothing. You both go in for something and he gets it and you don't. And so you can only do that with a bonus grading system on top of the 100% mandated grading system. But random elements actually motivate and do not cause resistance or anger or frustration or it's not fair he got, the way like inconsistent marking does. So, and agency, this is the biggie. In games treat agency. In my choices lead to my consequences. All of the consequences in my game, no matter what the luck factor, I can trace every consequence in the game to my choices. And gaming treats agency, and agency always, the more agency a player has, and ideally a student, the more resilient the player is, the more they can get up after losses, the more they can start again, the higher the challenges they will set for themselves. These are the attitudes we want in our students. And to accomplish that sort of highly self-motivated, self-demanding, high goal-setting ability to get up after failure and go out for the highest challenge again, we have to mimic more of gaming design principles.